Hi everybody, and the lights are just about to soon go down on this year's Savvy Teen Academy here in Dublin. I wanted to share a couple of insights from this year's group that I think are very important for us as employers to know about, and also anybody who's going to engage in Gen Z, whether it is selling to them or managing them or recruiting them in any capacity in the future. First and foremost, I cannot tell you how much they rise to expectations. On numerous occasions this week over the summer camp, which focuses on careers, communication and confidence, I set them an expectation and expected them to rise to it, and they did. So one case in point, right, was on Wednesday morning, I asked each teenager to present for a minute without notes on something that they were passionate about, and they had 20 minutes to prepare that. And they all did. They all did a really, really good job. So, for example, some of them spoke about sports, some of them spoke about a role model, some of them spoke about whatever. But imagine if I had taken a random group of people who were 10 years older and I said, you have to present on something in front of your peer group and without notes, how many people would actually push back? Whereas when it was simply the expectation that I set for this group of teenagers, they did it. And actually here is, so my assistant who was in with me all the week, she noted some things that they could do in order to improve, and that is a list of them right here. And then I wrote down 3 areas that they did very well. But what we did first, before any of that, was that we asked their peer group, we asked the teenagers themselves to spot what was positive about each other. So that created a positive feedback loop for a start, but secondly it made sure that to build their observation skills, and finally it facilitated peer-to-peer learning, because what they did then was, as they were learning best practice from each other, they were starting to implement it themselves. And then Chloe, as I mentioned, my assistant, she was the one then that gave them a piece of critical feedback as well. Because you see, what we do here at Savvy Teens is that we make sure that for every 3 pieces of positive feedback we give you, there's 1 area for you to work on. And that's a really important ratio, because a lot of the time today we only want to hear the good stuff, and we often comment that young people don't have the resilience to deal with the negative stuff. So we build that for sure. One of the things that I just wanted to mention is, so here's all of our evaluation forms after the week. One of the things that one of the teenagers picked up on that I wanted to share with you is that I went to great pains this week to make sure and tell people the difference between something being a weakness and what's something that somebody needed to improve upon. So just to give you an example, right? I am not somebody that knows anything about shopping, right? I cannot dress myself. I genuinely mean it, right? And my husband will, he will back me up on that, many of my family members as well. I go to a personal shopper once a year for 4 hours. She dresses me for the year, and that's that. Do I have any desire whatsoever to fix that problem in any other way, as in how I could, and I probably could, train myself on how to do it? No, absolutely none whatsoever. It's not a problem. €180 in 4 hours of my life solves the problem. It's not something that I want to improve. On the other hand, I've started swimming in the last couple of weeks because, as many of you know, I broke my foot 8 months ago. It's still not right. I'm getting operated on in a month's time. So therefore, I can't do an awful lot of exercise. So I've started swimming, and I want to improve my time, and I want to improve my technique, and so on like that. That is something I want to improve upon. And that is what one of the teenagers picked up here in their evaluation form. There a while ago, we've just read through them, and he said, now I know the difference between a weakness and what I want to improve on. That's key. That's absolutely key, because unfortunately our teenagers, they don't necessarily know how to discern the difference between I'm bad at this and that being an issue or not. And even the language, I'm bad at this. Like, I didn't say that I'm bad at shopping. It's of no interest to me. It's not to say, and think about the first 2 words there, I'm bad. And taking that in a reinforcing loop from a teenager's point of view, it really can have an impact on their confidence and ways in which they develop in the future, etc. So the thing is that we do use a ratio of 3:1, and I tell them that all the time. So we gave them a lot of really positive feedback on the way in which they presented, for example. We gave them great feedback on a variety of exercises that they gave. For example, their CV, right? So as I was going through their CV, we teach them how to write a CV and a cover letter, and to discern, again, the difference. So therefore, we said, okay, here are 3 positive things that you did with your CV, but here's 1 area that you can work on. And when they got used to knowing that whatever feedback came at them, that they were to expect there was going to be some area to improve, it didn't become an issue. It wasn't an issue. Then that's what they came to expect. So setting an expectation at that age group is really, really important. Another thing I want to tell you, right? Look, people are surprised at me every year when I say this. It's the same story every year. I've been doing Savvy Teens now for 5 years. Same story every year. A speaker came in Wednesday morning. We have a guest speaker in every day, right? On Wednesday morning he came in and he asked them the question, did Susan tell you to take away your phones or to put them out, put them out of reach on Monday? And they said no. And I said, no, I didn't. Because he said, no one has their phones. No one has their phones on the table. No one's looking at their phones. They're not. They don't. I am telling you. They don't go near their phones when they're in here. I don't expect that anybody will, and they don't. I don't use my phone in front of them. I set the expectation. They meet it. Simple as. I am telling you, it is not teenagers that are addicted to their phones. It is us. It is our age. We're the ones that can't sit through a conversation. We're the ones that have in 5 seconds have a concentration span before we look at it. We are the people that are doing what we give out about them doing. They're not the issue. I am telling you. I'm telling you every single year for 5 years, and it was particularly when that speaker mentioned that. They don't, honestly. And I had parents ringing me beforehand telling me, look, he's surgically attached to the phone. She will not put the phone out of her hand. No problem. No issue. Not with a single teenager this year. Not a single issue with any teenager any year. Telling you, really and truly, I mean it. I also want to show you something else, right, is the guest speaker that we had this morning. He was from Technology University Dublin. He came in to speak about college courses, and he also was doing an awful lot around mindset, picking the right career, and also overcoming failure. I had 2 speakers referring to that because they're terrified of it. They really are. They're terrified of failure, and failure means so much. You know, you and me now know that failure is learning dressed up, and we have had to develop a set of resilience accordingly. They wouldn't necessarily know that yet, so I really wanted to bring that in. So I'm just going to take you through here. What he did, great exercise actually, right, was that he made them make a paper airplane and to write their career fear on it, and then to throw it at a different side of the room, and then one of the other teenagers picked it up and read it, right? So I'm going to tell you a couple of career fears that we have from Gen Z. Not having enough money, here it is. Sorry, you can't read that because of the light. Not having enough money to provide for myself or my family. Being fired. Another one, not enough money working 9 to 5. Here's another one, not getting what I want for the Leaving Cert. So for those of you who aren't from Ireland watching this video, that would be the equivalent of, say, the A levels. Here's another one, not working hard enough, right? Not making the cut. So often what they're worried about is what they have control over. And that was the whole point. I did study skills with them Wednesday morning. And when I do study skills, I lay it plain and simple in front of them, is that study skills are your responsibility. I can tell you what worked for me, and they did work for me, right? Thankfully, I'm grateful to say that I got one of the best Leaving Certs I got the best Leaving Cert in my school and one of the best Leaving Certs in my county where I'm from. The thing is, though, I can tell you what they are, but unless you put them into practice, then you may as well be sitting and listening to me talking to the wall. So I lay the responsibility at them, and this is a point that our guest speakers reiterate more and more, is what have you got control over, what have you got influence over, and what do you not have influence over? And when it comes to exams and study and so on, they do have a huge amount that they can influence. And I also tell them this, I hear this from students when I meet them years afterwards, is I say to them, you are the CEO of your Leaving Cert. You are in control. You are the person who's got staff. Those staff are your teachers. And ultimately they work for the state, and you pay taxes, which means that they work in line with what you are seeking to achieve. So maximise them. So don't say, oh, my teachers are just, they're against me and they give me homework because they don't like me. Is instead think about how can they help me to achieve what I wanted to achieve myself. So, but it's just interesting listening to their career fears, because first of all, again, their honesty, they're willing to actually document this and throw it away, but not making the cut, that's an awful lot to do with confidence, and that's what an awful lot of the week is all about. The last thing I want to mention is 2 hours I spent here Wednesday morning talking about study skills. Do you think that at any stage that they got bored or they got sick of it or anything? Well, if they did, they didn't express it to me. They're hungry to know how to do better. They want to know how to do better. They want to become more efficient. This is something, now normally the morning session is 1 hour and 15 minutes. We stayed here for 2 hours because they kept asking me questions. And this is the whole point, is that they want to learn, they want to know. So here from Savvy Teens in Dublin, as I hope we can get, I love this age group. They are just starting to think, they're ambitious, they're kind, they're tolerant, they're wonderful. And they've just given me and Chloe here a wonderful week. So just as regards Gen Z, my God, there is so much to look forward to. And on behalf of all of us here, to any of my Savvy Teens in the future or here, in the present. Best wishes, guys. We're rooting for you. Bye.